So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time and super excited to share this with you today. My name is Stephanie Lucas. For those of you that do not know me, I am the founder and CEO of the Annuity Consultants and creator of the Heart-Centered Planning series. And today we are diving into the 6 of 8 principles in the series, where we're talking about the importance of having a clear vision, and not only a vision for your business, but a vision for your life, and how those really do go hand in hand. If you're not familiar with the Heart-Centered Planning series, this series was really created to help agents and advisors connect with their clients on a soul level and really give you the tools that you need to connect with them, listen to them, and make unbiased recommendations. So really understand their needs and desires and what it is that you can do to help them move forward in whether it's their accumulation phase or retirement phase. And then a couple of housekeeping rules before we, suggestions before we get started. Everybody's on mute. And so if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please, on the right-hand side where you have a drop-down for questions, include those there. Allison is standing by off screen and she'll be asking those questions as they come in. So definitely be engaged with us, and anything that you have for either Roni or myself, please feel free to ask throughout. And then, we will record this. So you will get a copy of the recording along with any materials and things that are suggested, any resources that we talk about. And I will also be including the guide that goes along with this topic. So we've created a guide for each of the topics that includes why this topic is important to your business, why incorporate it, and exercises to see how, if you're out of alignment with it. And then in the back of each of the guides are resources. So there's a page that'll give you different, meditations and blogs, books, documentaries, all kinds of things that go along with that topic that I recommend you view or utilize. And they're things that I myself have used as tools in this process as well. So without further ado, I will introduce our speaker. We've got Roni Rumsey with us today. And Roni has spent 30 years working in education as a teacher and administrator until she realized it was time for her to create the life she wanted to live every day. So she made a life-changing decision and retired early. This was absolutely the best and scariest decision she has ever made. She has not made that had not made that decision so that so many other opportunities would not have opened up in her life. I just killed that totally. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
And she's truly grateful for the path she's been on. She is the founder of Empowering Mindful Change and is passionate about helping individuals and teams succeed in a short amount of time. So welcome, Roni.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. I can't wait to dive into this information because I feel like that intro didn't really do you justice, because you have a lot more than what I just talked about. So to get started, why don't you share a little bit about your background and what led you to pursue the path that you are on today?
Okay, I would love to do that. I do have quite a bit more than what I shared in my bio, and it's to me, it's just who I am, and so a lot of times I forget that it's there. I started in education many, many years ago, traveled through the ranks. At each stop along the way, I said, oh, I never do that, I never do that, and then I would do the next thing, and oh, I can never do that, I'll never do that, and then I do the next thing. And I got to the point where I was, the only stop left for me in education was to become a district superintendent. And I don't really care. I don't want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to make sure the roads are okay for buses to go on. I didn't want to make sure that all the buildings were, kept up, the toilet paper was ordered and all that. I just had more, I just felt like there was more to do. So at 30 years, it was actually 29 years and 10 months. I decided to retire. So I, I, I lost a little bit of money, like $10 a month. We are retiring 2 months early, but it was worth it for me because I knew there was more out there. I just knew that there was something bigger for me to do. And so I turned my resignation in early in the year. I didn't have anything else planned. I didn't know what it was going to do. I just knew if I opened that space
Yeah.
in my life that something was going to show up. The thing that I was most looking for was gonna get there, and I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just knew that my intention was to do those things that I really wanted to do and to make a bigger impact than I was making.
Oh, I love that. So it's really you had faith that the right thing would show up at the right
Mm-hmm.
time. Yeah. Yeah, and if any of you didn't realize, so the fact that Ronnie is an educator or was an educator for so long, that's a big reason that I wanted to have her on the show because education is such a major part of what we do in this industry. You know, it's our responsibility to really inform our clients of what it is that we're recommending and make sure that they understand it. And so, although she's not in education now, her background is so much in that. And working with her, you could really learn a lot about how to do that in the best way that people connect with. So anyway, wanted to make sure we were on that. So tell me, like, what is it that you found? What is it that really came to you, built on?
So probably it was I don't know how many years ago now it was, but I had gone through a divorce, become an empty nester. All my kids were gone. I was in a job that was like, oh, do I really like this anymore? That was about 25, 26 years in. Um, and I knew that I wasn't where I needed to be. And so I started getting into personal development. And I went to a couple of personal development seminars and went through their program. And as a result of that, I hired a coach. And I didn't know why I was hiring a coach. I didn't know what he could do for me. I didn't have a clue. I just knew I needed to do something. And
Yes.
I didn't know what it was. So I hired him. And the cool thing about it was he started asking me questions and doing some strategies with me that I had never seen in any personal development that I'd ever done.
Cool.
It really impacted me. So he used a lot of language techniques and he used NLP practices and strategies with me to bust through some of the beliefs that I had and to really get clear on what I wanted to accomplish. So from there, that actually took me to down the path that I'm on now, which is I've become an NLP trainer. I work with as a coach. I coach people with NLP, strategies and things like that. I work with a lot of people in transition from one career to another, from married to single, from full house to empty nester, just a lot of different things, and it fills my boat. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
So, not everybody is probably familiar with what NLP is. So you want to give us like a little bit of a breakdown of
Sure,
what you're talking about? Yeah.
sure. NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming, and if you look it up, if you Google it, you're going to come up with neurological language programming, which is AI. This is not AI. It's actually using words and language to reprogram. You can actually reprogram neural pathways so that you think differently. You reprogram some of the beliefs that you have so that they're no longer impacting your life.
Yeah.
Um, it takes neurolinguistic programming also takes in and remove you're able to remove some negative emotions so that you react to those emotions differently in the future. It's an empowering program, and I guess the premise I like most about it is you have your answers. I, as the coach, don't have your answers. You have your answers. I'm just really good at asking the questions.
Right.
You to be able to access those answers. So
Yeah. That's incredible. And I mean, the reality of it is there are so many things that we pick up that we don't realize are programs. And they can come from our upbringing. They can come from the way that we were trained in our jobs by somebody who maybe they don't even have the same values as you. They're not, they're just not necessarily things that we want to have. And
Mhm.
so what you're saying is with NLP, you can choose your program,
Yes.
right? Yeah, that's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, and it really it goes along with that. In our second guide, we talk about the abundance mindset and the power of positivity.
Mhm.
So a lot of that, could correlate with what you're talking about. So,
Just to jump in there, the power of positivity, I was just something that I have been really thinking about a lot is that power of positivity is great, but sometimes it masks those emotions that we still need to work on. So how can we combine those so that we're not just masking over them with
right.
this positivity, but how do we work through it so that that's normally the way that we behave?
Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, so at one point you decided to retire early, and then what really influenced that decision? Because I talk a lot to people about making sure that if you're in this business, you're in it because you love it and you love being in service of people, and you're not doing it because, you're making great money or, because somebody in your family did it. It's like making sure that you're in alignment. So what was it that really influenced that decision?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that question. I was almost at the top of the pay scale where I was. So I was making a good six-figure income.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't love what I was doing anymore. I,
Hmm.
I would get up to go to work and have a headache by the time I got to work, and I lived a quarter of a mile away.
Yeah.
So that's get in the car, headache.
Yeah.
Um, I started manifesting some physical things that I went, this is caused by stress.
Yes.
That's all there is to it. I'm too young to be having these things going wrong.
Totally.
Uh, and I hated, I hated it. My gut was in knots most of the time because I didn't want to go to work. That was the first thing. The second thing was because it had been going on for a while,
Yeah.
there were just signs that would come up to that would go, you're not meant to be here. You're not meant to be here. Um, and it was like those red flags that came. Okay, this is a sign. Are you going to listen to it or not? Because it's waving in front of your face.
Right. Right.
Um, and so there were a couple of things that happened that I just ethically could not. I couldn't do. I refused to do them. And I just turned in my resignation and said, "This isn't for me anymore."
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
I did love it.
And I think like a lot of people ignore those signs, right? And especially the health issues.
Hmm.
These things manifest within us because we are not at ease with where we're at, right? And
Exactly.
and some of it might just be you need a change of scenery, like go work somewhere else, go work with someone else, right?
Mhm.
Like it may not be like your situation where they have to leave the industry and completely get out. Like maybe look at the environment that you're in and
Yes.
shift that, you know?
Hmm.
So yeah. Yeah, I hear things from people all the time about different health issues. I myself had a bout with autoimmune issues
Hmm.
because I didn't enjoy what I was doing. And until I changed my habits and created something that is in alignment with who I am, then, nothing was going to feel good. And
Right.
so, yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you're up in veteran years as I am, it's because of my age starts to crop in. And as I'm coaching people, I say, what if it's not because of your age? Does it
Yeah,
have to be because of your age? Could there be
that's,
other reasons?
yes,
Um,
I
and
totally.
yeah.
So today we're diving into the idea of having a clear vision,
Hmm.
um, your life and business. And so, what does having a clear vision really mean to you?
Having a clear vision means really being crystal clear on where I want to land, and not just in my business. Because what I have found is I have to have equilibrium between business, relationships, spirituality,
Yeah.
physical health, all of those. If I don't have that equilibrium, I'm just kind of a crazy person.
Yeah.
So knowing where I'm headed in all areas of my life, knowing when I'll get there,
Yeah.
you know what it will feel like. That's what a clear vision is for me. I know where I'm headed, what I want to accomplish, and what I need to do. And I mentioned the word equilibrium. I use that intentionally rather than balance,
Okay.
because equilibrium means a swing from, it swings back and forth. You know, water kind of has that equilibrium. I think in life, we have times when we, or a season, or whatever you want to call it, where we have to focus a little bit more on relationships, or we have to focus just a little bit more on health, or we have to focus a little bit more on our business.
Yeah.
Um, so it's more of an equilibrium, because it all equals out, but it's not always balanced. And I think that's a misnomer that we give people that kind of
Sure.
sets us up to not be successful in that piece. So
Yeah, no, I love that, because I say balance all the time, but I mean, that makes more sense. So I feel like I'm going to take that from you. Thank
you're welcome.
you. And one thing too that I want to mention is, although you have a clear vision, it isn't something that is set in stone. So, be okay with it changing and evolving as things change and evolve in your life, right?
Yes.
Um, it's one thing to have a end goal, but having these expectations that if it's not fulfilled, then you're not actually living that vision. And I don't think that that is true. So,
I would say, and maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but when I'm talking about a clear vision, it's really, I know where I want to end up, and
mm,
where I want to be. I don't know how I'm going to get there,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it it may not look, the journey may not look the way I planned it,
yeah,
but I will get there eventually. And I'm pretty specific about where I want to land,
sure.
with my vision, so I think we'll talk about that a little bit. But for me, there's a saying that I learned early on in one of my professional development things, that intention, um, when your intention is clear, the mechanism will appear. So when I'm really clear about what I want to happen, what I want to be, all of those mechanisms that I have no idea will start showing up. I just have to be open to them showing up and being different than the way I thought they might be.
Yes, I love that. Love it. So you're really like listening and tuning in with what's going on around you to figure out like what is the best approach, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So was there a time in your life when you felt you were not living out your true vision, and how did you feel about that?
Oh my gosh. There have been many times, actually, and I guess the first one I would say would be when I was teaching, and then I felt like I was more, it wasn't tapping into my leadership capabilities and abilities that I wanted to be tapping into, that my vision was about. Um, so my gut at that point went, you need to do something different. So mine has always been around trusting my gut,
Yeah.
and I, for a long time I didn't, and I probably stayed in education maybe longer than I would have if I would have trusted my gut.
Mm.
Um, but I came from, my generation is, you work 40 years, 40 hours a week at least, and then you retire and then you die. Um,
Yeah.
and I got to the point where I was like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. And my gut is going there. I've got more to do. So each time it's been about my gut, and then it's been about watching what happens, because when I know I'm not living in my purpose, when I know I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, things show up to prove to me that's true. Doors will shut, or health issues come up, or things like that. So being really crystal, I don't want to say crystal clear, but cognizant of those other things that start happening and how they all fit together for that
Yeah, yeah. It's like they're clues, you
Mhm.
know, and they're like dropping little
Yes.
crumbs along the way, right? And a lot of people don't actually connect that. They don't aren't it's not in their awareness, right?
Hmm.
But you learned how to really listen to that. And
Exactly.
it's interesting because if somebody didn't show up to a meeting or a call or something like that, I used to get very upset, right? And I
Hmm.
know that this happens often to people in our industry because people will commit to a meeting or a strategy session or something like that. They didn't want to say no, right?
Hmm.
uh, and hurt your feelings. So then they just don't show up, and you beat yourself up thinking like there's something wrong with me. When in reality, it's like it's okay that they didn't show up. Maybe they're not going to be your client, and that hour of your time or 2 hours of your time are going to be better spent on something else. And
Hmm.
not putting that energy into getting upset, but then shifting and realizing like it's all good. Like
Yeah.
it was maybe a blessing that person didn't show up because maybe they would be a pain in the butt kind of client.
For
Like,
sure. It's like, I get that one. It's like, oh, the gift here might be, they would have been a lot of work.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, um, okay, so in your opinion, does someone in the financial or insurance industry need to have a clear vision in order to succeed, or really any industry for that matter?
I think it goes along with any industry. I think it goes along with people, entrepreneurs, anybody needs a clear vision. I mean, you think about going on a trip. If you don't have a roadmap, you're going to end up, who knows where you're going to end up. But if you have a clear vision, you have an idea of where you're going to end up. It
Mhm.
might not look the way you envision it looking, but you have an idea of where you're going to end up. It, it, I think it's not just the clear vision about your business though,
Yeah,
because living in your purpose, it could be about your business, but all of those other pieces of life affect that. And at some point in your life, you'll go, wait, I let this piece slide and now it's all out of whack and I don't know what to do about it. So how do we keep the clear vision for everything? And I think especially with people driven with, commission sales, working with financial pieces, sometimes I don't want to say we, because that's not that, I can tell you that's not me. We're driven by the money
mm-hmm.
and not all the other stuff that's really important in life.
Right.
So being really clear with your vision, one of the things I do know is sometimes we think we need a lot of money to accomplish our vision, and that's not always the case.
Sure.
I used to think I needed, $3 million to accomplish everything I needed. But when I sat down and figured it out, I don't necessarily need that much money to accomplish what I want to live in my purpose. So I do think that's important that they have a vision. And as I'm thinking about this, one thing that comes to mind, and I'm just kind of getting this right now, is, I think it's so important that you have a vision for your client as well, the person that you're working with,
Absolutely.
that that is in alignment with what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I've worked with a few financial planners and people trying to sell me annuities, and that wasn't always the case. So I think connecting your heart, using that energy and that piece that you have as part of your vision is really important.
Mhm. Yeah, and being able to connect both the mind and heart, right? So the analytical side and also the more like being in tune with um, the feeling of why you're doing what you're
Mhm.
doing, and making sure that what you are doing is in your client's best interest, right? And
Correct. Yeah.
yeah. And I think going back to what you were talking about, following your gut is really listening to your intuition,
Hmm.
you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if it feels good when you make a recommendation, then more than likely you're making that because it's in their best interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, and then some of the attendees might be feeling stuck, like they lost their path or don't have a clear vision with their career. How do you advise that they get back on track and identify that? Like, is there some steps that you go through, or a process?
I do. When I'm working with clients, it's actually a pretty thorough process. But the steps I would just kind of suggest is why? Why are you doing this? What's your why?
Mm,
Why did you get into this business? Why is this important to you? Why are you, is it just about the money? Um, or is there a bigger picture? Is there a bigger piece to that why that you need to tap into? I can tell you the people I work with, it's usually not about money.
yeah,
It's about impacting people's lives. And when you can get down to that, um, I have kind of a 7-step process that you could do anybody could do themselves is what's your purpose? Why is that important to you? Write it down. Why is that important to you? For that last question, write down why that was important to you. So for example, why is that important to you? So I'll have money for retirement. Great. Why is that important to you? So that I will make sure I can live the life I want to live when I retire. Why is that important to you? So that's something you can do with your clients as well as yourself. Write those things down to really get deep into that why, because I can guarantee you almost everybody I've ever worked with, if they're not in tears by the time they get to the 7th question, they're pretty close. So,
yeah.
and they've gotten to that why. So that's one of the things I would suggest, um, digging into that why and getting really, really clear on that and making sure that why, because when you do that, why is going to impact all aspects of your life.
Absolutely.
So you can pull those together, because if you're not taking care of those other areas, you're going to feel stuck. You're going to feel like you're out of whack. Your gut's going to be starting to bother you, and those are pieces that you don't want to let go until you're 60-ish, like some of us are. So um,
I
also
agree.
having that really clear vision, know where you want to go, why you want to get there. I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing. Simon Sinek's why circle target thing
Yeah.
is huge, to go back to that.
Yes. I love that book, by the way. Highly recommend it if you guys have not read it. And we could include that too as a resource that we
Or
recommend.
go watch the YouTube video.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
book's better, but the YouTube video will give you a quick synopsis.
Yeah. And it's not too bad. It's like what, 25 minutes, something like
Yeah,
that.
I think.
Yeah. Okay, so can you tell us about your current, what you're currently doing in your career, and what does empowering mindful change mean to you?
Okay, I'd be happy to. Currently, I am conducting workshops, practitioners workshops that are all NLP.
Okay.
So I'm training people at the practitioner level on how to use NLP, whether they're planning on being coaches, whether they're in the medical field, whether they're in education. I use it a lot when I go work I still work in the educational setting, or I go work with school building staff, where we'll use NLP strategies. So
Okay.
working with people in finance, banking, I would work with a lot of naturopaths
Huh.
and people in the healing industry around language and how to use the language to support people rather than to have them accept certain languages, certain words that may not support them. So I do the 7-day practitioners workshop. I'm getting ready to put one together for this fall. It will be all online. So that's what I do. My main thing. I do a lot of coaching, just
Okay.
depending on what you're looking for. I do a lot. I call it transition coaching. Work with a lot of people who are in between phases of life, because
Mm,
I've been in between phases of life in many areas. Been in recovery. Um, I've been an empty nester. I've been a single mom. I've been married and then not married. Been in education and not in education. So um, I get those transition and how our roles kind of change and morph, and we get to take on new identities. Um, I work with a lot of people, a lot of coaching that I do around those things, as well as people who are stuck and you can just say, all I know is I'm stuck. Well,
Yeah.
let's unstick you.
Yeah.
So, so that's what I do. Empowering Mindful Change. I chose that name very purposefully because by mindfully changing, people become empowered.
Yes.
And so by empowering people to mindfully change, it becomes even more effective, and it enables people not just to change at the conscious level, but to change at the unconscious level, where
Yeah.
those changes are what changes neurology, changes your physical health, changes all of the programs that run you that you don't want to run you anymore.
Yeah.
And
Don't even realize.
that's where it came from.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, like, this is what this entire series is about, is empowering people to make those changes and to create really the life that they truly desire.
Mhm.
And also being able to bring your life and both your personal and business together.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people separate those two things. And it's like you lead double lives almost. And it doesn't make sense to me. I did it for a long time and it felt very like just fragmented or separated, or like I wasn't connected to it. And finding a way to bring it together has improved so much, especially my health.
Mhm.
Like that it's been a game changer. So
Well, you and I both know without health, wealth doesn't matter.
yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah.
Health is wealth.
Yes,
So
it is. So what is your hope for your clients, in other words, what do you want to help them with? What is like the biggest, I mean, obviously mindful, um, empowering change and all that, but I mean, like, if you could just wave your magic wand and like make these changes, what would it be?
it would be that they'd find their answers
Hmm.
and they'd be able to step into those answers and create the life that they wanted
Yes. Yes.
easily and effortlessly.
Ah, oh my gosh, I love that. I actually, I was journaling the other day and I was thinking about like these next, things that I'm doing in my business. And I put in there that they are going to come with grace and ease. So it's like right on point. I'm like,
That's
thanks.
that's perfect. That's very clear.
Yes.
Say it the way you want it.
They will. Um, okay, so do you have any practical advice, exercises, or tips on how people can work on identifying their vision and staying within it?
The first one I gave you already is defining your why and really digging into that, not just the surface level why, but the 7-level deep why. Um, the other piece I recommend is if you don't journal. Journaling is so important. It connects the heart to the head to the hand.
Hmm.
Um, so not, I'm not, I guess you could journal. I don't recommend journaling, just keyboarding journaling, because it's a whole different physiology, neurology that has to take place, but actually handwriting in a book, so that you're using those muscles and getting those neural pathways firing. But create your 1 month vision, your 3 month vision. What do you want to happen at the end of a month? And write it as if it's already happened.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
3 months. At the end of 3 months, I will have accomplished this, and be really specific. Really specific. I will have accomplished selling 10 annuity plans of this much money by this date. Um, and always throw in the easily and effortlessly, because say it the way you want it. Do you want it to be hard, or do you want it to be easy? So say it the way you want it. Write it for a year, go out 5 years, go out 10 years. So a lot of people don't do that. They don't vision more than about a couple weeks out. Like, what do I want to accomplish in a week, or what's my sales goal? So be sure you include all aspects of your life in that 1 month, 3 month. Otherwise, you'll forget parts.
Yes.
Yeah, and they'll suffer. So that's the first one. The other one is future pace. And that's actually a strategy I do, and I'm putting a course together that'll be an online course. But future pacing is getting really clear, setting smart goal, getting a smart goal, getting really clear on it, and then actually taking it and putting it in the future. So we'll do some visualization techniques where you visualize what it feels like to accomplish that goal, see what it sounds like, hear what it sounds like, see what it feels like, feel all the feels that come with accomplishing that goal, know exactly the moment you're going to know when it happens, like it's going to hit my bank account, I'm going to see it on my dashboard or whatever. And then we do some breathing techniques, put it in your future so that it's out there, because your unconscious mind, it doesn't know whether you'll have accomplished these things or not. All it knows is that you've told it it's happened. And so it goes, oh, no problem. We've done that before. We're just going to do it again. So learning how to future pace is really a technique that if you haven't done it, I'm going to give you the opportunity to practice it. So
That's so cool. I love that. I didn't know that that's what it was called, but I definitely do that.
oh, good.
Yeah, I have a client actually, he's a big Dr. Joe Dispenza fan. And when he came back from his last retreat or seminar series that he did with him, it was like, hey, write this down on your computer. And it says, assume the feeling as if whatever your wish has already happened.
Yep.
So whatever that might be. Yeah, I
Yep.
love it.
I like
Yeah.
Dr. Joe too.
Well, I like the fact that he uses science to back what
Mhm.
he's talking about, because a lot of people kind of might shy away from this kind of stuff because they're like, oh, it's a little bit too woo-woo,
Yep.
but it's not, and it works. And so if you believe it, you know, it can work for you. So.
Definitely.
So everybody that we've had on this series has brought a gift for the audience. And I know that we talked about it, so but I don't recall exactly what you were bringing for everybody. Oh.
Well, I don't recall what I was bringing either, but here's what I'm offering. Here's what I do have. I am just getting ready to launch that future pacing course
Okay.
called Crush Your Vision. And it's not quite up and running yet. It should be ready in 2 weeks, and I'll have it up online, ready to go. So
Okay.
if you just email me at Roni@empoweringmindfulchange.com, and
Okay.
I can send you that. I don't know that you have that email, but I can send that to you. Email me and let me know that you want that. It's a $299 course for people here. You're going to get it free.
Okay, cool.
So I would love to have you take advantage of that. The other piece is if you feel like you're stuck and just want a 1 hour quick down and dirty coaching session, I'm up for that too. So there's 2 offers there. Both of them, if you just email me at Roni@empoweringmindfulchange.com, we'll get you set up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so when we send out the email with the copy of this webinar and the guide that goes along with it, we'll be sure to include that in the email. So, no need to write it down right now. But yeah, we'll definitely put that together for everybody that has registered and attended. And yeah, so any other closing remarks or like resources that you recommend, anything that we didn't touch on?
I would say whether you take me up on a coaching session or not, if you don't have a coach, get a coach.
Yeah.
A coach is so important. A coach is what's made the difference in my life.
Yeah.
Because they've been able to see things I haven't been able to see, and they've called me on my crap.
Yes.
They've helped me bust through. They've helped me understand that the programs that run me at one point were there to keep me safe, and now are holding me back. So they've actually served a good purpose.
Yeah.
So not just a business coach, but somebody who can help you with some of that inner stuff
Yes.
that we don't always work on, especially if we're male. Um, I'm just calling the males out. You guys, you've got it too. You've got that stuff too. So work on it. It's so refreshing when you get rid of it. So that would be, that's my biggest thing, is that, and trust your gut.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah, and I mean, every coach I've ever talked to has had coaches.
Hmm.
So coaches need coaches. Everybody needs a coach, and it's just a matter of finding somebody that you resonate with, somebody that it feels good,
Exactly.
when you have a conversation with them, that you believe that they're going to be able to help you. And you are right, like men are not as likely to dig into these things that may be blocking you from the success that you're capable of. And that goes back to programs and how our society has treated men, and really does not honor their feminine. And unfortunately, the feminine is sort of pushed down, and they don't value it. And so it's difficult when you don't understand why things are happening,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Um, I mean, that could be a completely other show all in a
definitely.
yeah. But this industry is very male dominated,
Mhm.
right? And so we're talking to men all the time. And one thing that I recommend to guys that I work with is uh, Brene Brown, Daring Greatly. That's my favorite. Like that is such a good way to kind of introduce that, the power of vulnerability.
Mhm.
And if you don't want to read the book, you can go and watch the TED Talk. Um, that's a good way to get introduced to it. And I think like a lot of people, just don't take the time to do
Yes.
the inner work. And that's what this whole series is about. Is the only way to make any change that's impactful is to do it from within,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
and to be an example of what it is that you want to see in the world. So I'm like so encouraging of people doing their inner work. So
Yeah, it's the world would be a better place if more people did the inner work.
yes, yes. I think with things happening though around COVID, actually I know this with things happening around COVID, and people being forced to go inside, they have been doing a lot of, self-reflection.
Mhm.
I know so many people that have incorporated tools that they had never done before, with like breath work and
Mhm.
um, journaling and meditation, and just different things that have really helped them dig into um, areas of their life that they hadn't been paying attention to because it was like go, 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 you know? And now we've had this time to kind of like sit back and see what that go, go, go has done to us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. I've seen
Yeah.
a lot more of that too.
Mhm. Yeah, so I love what you're doing out there, and the work that you're doing is so important. And so I want to thank you and commend you. And we're excited to see who shows up to your workshop. It might actually be something I'd like to attend
Oh, I
if
would love it.
that would be super fun.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so we'll get everything out.
Okay.
And um, I don't know, Allison, did we have any questions? Did anybody have anything that they wanted to know about before we wrap up?
No, we had a question about where we can watch our other recordings. So I thought I might as well just share that. If other people are wondering about previous webinars, you can go to our YouTube page at the Annuity Consultants, and they're all there. And this one will be there as well. So that's just a general question that we got. But no, other than that, that's it.
Cool. Yeah, so we have 2 seasons up there. So gosh, what's that, like 14 videos that we've done so far. And then a few other webinars in between that are more industry specific. So and you can also follow us if you aren't already at the Annuity Consultants on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I think that's, and of course, YouTube. So yeah, so that's it for today. I appreciate you, Roni, for showing up and having a chat with me about this. I encourage everybody to sign up for the workshop. I think that would be amazing. And I'll be there, so we can all hang out together because I'm assuming it's
Great.
we can, see each other. And yeah, I hope you all found this session valuable. If, let's see. We've got our next webinar coming up, and we still have the one for Sandy Chissell that we need to reschedule at some point. A couple weeks ago, we had to cancel because I had COVID, and so I want to thank everybody for the emails and text messages and calls and gifts and everything was, so much love and healing energy was sent to me. So thank you all. I am obviously doing better. So I have turned a corner, and
We're glad you are.
yes, thank you, thank you. So until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you. And again, I appreciate you, and you guys make it a great day. Bye, Roni.
Goodbye. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.